Now, if there's one thing that destroys a recreational golfer's ball striking more than anything, it's their wrist angles. And when a golfer cups the lead wrist, it tends to open the club face, lead to steep downswings and slicing across the golf ball. And we can see that that golf ball heads right nearly every time. And if it doesn't, typically they're going to early extend and flip that club face closed, resulting in a massive pull. So in order to fix these wrist angles that you just saw there, we're going to use a training aid that's been taking the world by storm. For me as a coach, I use it almost every single day with my coaching. So let's introduce that training aid that's going to fix those wrist angles at the top and produce a much better downswing and better ball striking. So to fix these wrist angles today, we're going to use the Personalised. Now, if you haven't heard of it before, it's used by a lot of tour players all around the world. And what it's designed to do is to structure the wrists in a way that we would like to have a flat lead wrist at the top of the golf swing and an extended trail wrist at the top of the golf swing. So what the Personalised is going to do is if we place it on the trail wrist and we just tie it onto ourselves, just easy, simple Velcro there, what we've got is this, what we call cradle. And the purpose of that cradle is during the backswing, we would ideally like to get that trail wrist to sit into that cradle at the top. And if you can do that, you'll find that the lead wrist will also come along and help you get that trail wrist in the cradle there. Now, what I see a lot of recreational golfers do, if they didn't have this on, we would see a wrist angle at the top that looks a little bit like this. So you can see there that the lead wrist is cupped or extended. And what often happens is the trail wrist moves into what we call flexion, which is this way. Essentially, it's not on the cradle. So on the cradle would be extension or bending back, and off the cradle would be inflection. And both of the movements that you're seeing here, a cupped lead wrist and a flexed trail wrist, is going to result in that face being open. We're going to maybe cast the club on the way down. We're definitely going to steepen the club on the way down, open face, and then you'll see that shot that I hit earlier in the video where I hit it out to the right over there. And you'll also notice that if I steepen it, I could also early extend and really flip at that club late in the golf swing. So how would we use the Personalised when practicing? What are we looking for? What are we trying to feel? Well, here's how I teach with it on. For golfers that I work with, I would like you to try and attempt to get the trail wrist into that cradle as early as you can in the takeaway. And what this is going to do is this is going to result in a lead wrist that becomes a little bit flatter or more essentially flexed during that takeaway position. And it's going to result in a much stronger club face around about that first parallel, or P2 as we call it. So if I set up to my golf ball here and I really try to feel like my trail wrist gets into that cradle really early in my backswing, what it would then look like is this. And there's my takeaway. And you're going to see that my takeaway has become essentially my hands and my club are all in one line here. So you'll see that I don't throw my hands and arms out this way. I don't rip the golf club inside. So for golfers who maybe struggle with an inside takeaway or they roll the club too far inside, you'll see that that doesn't really work with the Personalised on. So again, we're going to try and get that trail wrist back into that cradle as soon as we can, making sure that that club face is looking down at the ground to some degree. Now, all we have to do from here is essentially continue the rotation of the body and get this trail wrist to stay in the cradle. And what you'll see as a result of this movement is a pretty damn good top of the backswing position. You're going to notice that my lead wrist is nice and flat. My trail wrist is extended. It's inside that cradle. The club face is in a nice strong position. My arm structure is good. And what I'm able to do from here is maintain the angle in that cradle. So leave the trail hand in that cradle for as long as you can on the way down. And that will give you that feeling as though you're shallowing the golf club, maintaining your angles, or better known as lag. And from here, you can then release the golf club down into impact with a little bit of shaft lean. You'll be able to compress the golf ball and hit nice, solid golf shots. So the Pro SENDR is a fantastic tool for some feedback during your backswing in order to get those wrist angles in the way that you want, because essentially if you stayed with your cupped lead wrist or your flexed trail wrist, you're not going to feel your hands inside that cradle. So the great thing about it is that you're giving yourself some feedback. You're trying to get the trail wrist in the cradle as soon as you can. That will strengthen the face during the takeaway. Get that trail hand into the cradle at the top, maintain that on the way down, and then from there, you can hit some nice, solid, compressed golf shots. So in my opinion, the Pro SENDR is a really good training aid to help you with setting the golf club much better during that takeaway position, getting the wrist angles in the correct spot at the top, and making sure that that club face is in a good position at the top of the golf swing to allow impact to be as easy as possible and to strike the ball as well as you can. If you'd like a Pro SENDR for yourself, click the link in the description below and you can go and grab one there. And if you're after more drills, more training aids, and more ways to work on your game, you can visit my academy, which has over 250 videos currently in there, helping you with your game. Heaps of drills, heaps of lessons, all the way from driver to putter, with more videos coming in the following months.